The new year had just rang in, an optimistic 2017 was underway, and the lease on my apartment was about to expire. It was a beautiful new apartment that I loved and appreciated so much, but one that I knew was only temporary. My friends and family would ask me things like, "Where are you gonna live next?" Or, "Have you been looking for a new apartment?" And I would say things like, "Yes, I've been looking in Long Beach," or, "Yeah, but I haven't quite found anything that I like yet." But all the while in my head, I knew that I actually had no intention of finding a new apartment. I knew that this year I wanted my life to be as flexible as possible, and I already knew that my next home was going to be on four wheels and with just enough space to lay down straight. I want to share with you guys my brief story about why I chose to live in a car. Now, I can't recommend that everyone else does this or follows in my footsteps, but I do think that it can be valuable to show people that alternative ways of living that might seem a little out of the ordinary or out of the box can be a means with which we simply put priority on other more important aspects of our lives. So why am I here? I've boiled it down to three reasons: to save money, to be flexible, and to get uncomfortable. Now, the most obvious reason someone might choose to live out of their car is simply to save money. Why did I want to save money? Because I knew that in 2017 I was going to quit my job. Now, this idea probably deserves a video all on its own, but basically I had reached a point where I knew that this job, despite having some great opportunities, was not going to fulfill me. What's more is that I actually didn't want any job at all. As naive as it might sound to some people, I felt that I needed to challenge myself to make money through my own ventures and in my own way. Like a lot of people, I have aspirations of being my own boss and finding success while maintaining freedom over my time. I felt that if I did not give myself a serious, fair, and thorough shot, that one day I would look back and regret being too scared to take a leap and to put myself in that arena. So with that in mind, obviously, I couldn't afford to have the obligation of paying rent every month. So saving money on rent is pretty straightforward, but the second reason why I chose to live in my car is to be flexible. Around the time that I was thinking of leaving my job, I was also thinking about some things that I wanted to do instead. One of them was to create some kind of online content, and the other was to travel as much as possible. First, like many others out there, I wanted to learn how to create and manage my own website. For the last 3 years, I've grown to love rock climbing and noticed that rock climbing is growing bigger and bigger with more gyms popping up and its inclusion in the upcoming 2020 Olympics in Japan. So I decided that my website would be geared towards a community of new, excited climbers. I named it Beta Together, and it's something that I've put a lot of work into and care deeply about, and I still actively manage it. In order to do this, I knew that I needed to have the flexibility to travel to different climbing gyms and outdoor climbing spots. Also, being a rock climber revealed something very interesting to me. It turns out that the climbing community is filled with people who've decided to prioritize their passion for climbing over an expensive apartment. People actually buy used construction vans and build them out with laminate flooring, insulated walls, full-length beds, and solar panels, and use them to live in full-time while they explore. In the climbing community, it turns out, it actually isn't that weird to say that you live in your vehicle. When I discovered this, it really freed my thinking. And for a while, I was even thinking of buying a van myself. This brings me to my last reason for living out of my car. It might sound strange at first, but hear me out. The last reason was to be uncomfortable. There's a strange paradox that often occurs in our generation. You see it in families where the parents or grandparents came from poverty, perhaps emigrated from another country, struggled with the responsibilities of having kids at an early age, but finally pulled themselves up by the bootstraps and became successful. When you ask them about it, they often attribute that success to the personal challenges of having to overcome all of those difficulties, those inconveniences, and all that uncertainty. Then, when their kids are growing up and going to school, they do everything in their power to make life as easy as possible for them, so that their kids never have to go through the hardships that they did. It's noble, it's respectable, but think about it. They specifically attribute success to the challenges of fear and uncertainty, but then try their best to remove those same factors from their kids. all the while trying to keep them from becoming spoiled or having a sense of entitlement. For me personally, I grew up with abundance. I had 2 parents and plenty of family at all times for support. I lived in a beautiful home where the refrigerator was always stocked and where I could walk outside down the block at 2 in the morning and feel completely safe. There's something inside of me deep down that knows that I need to make things more difficult for myself, to take myself out of my comfort zone, to take leaps instead of baby steps, and to, in a way, break myself down a bit so that I approach things with a new perspective and a new appreciation. I think if we want to live an unusually successful life, we need to take on some unusual challenges. Living out of my car is just one small way to do this. Living out of my car means practicing minimalism and keeping only the things that I need and use all the time. Living out of my car means planning ahead to find safe and convenient places to sleep. It means always being mindful to lock my doors as soon as I step in so that I ingrain that safety habit into my head. It means being mindful of how I eat while still maintaining good health and not having a refrigerator or a stove. But most of all, living in my car is a reminder that as unusual or inconvenient as it may seem, I am still living in absolute luxury compared to so many other people in this world. So that's a bit of my story, and that's why I live the way that I do. I can feel a change in me, and I'm excited for what I am capable of next. If you guys enjoyed this video, if you found it valuable at all, please hit the subscribe button and the little bell so that you get notifications when I post new videos. The goal of this channel is not only going to be to document my own adventure, but to inspire and to help you find your own personal adventure in your life. Life should be an adventure. Life should be exciting. Life should be filled with the goals and adventures that we plan for ourselves, not anyone else. So join me on my journey and let's form this community so that we can find adventure in our lives together.